Hey up me ducks, I'm Ben and welcome to Hey Up Duck Driving. What's the channel about? Why have I started this channel? Well, I want to become a driving instructor and I want to share with you guys exactly what it takes and what it's taken me to become a driving instructor up to now. So I signed up as a driving instructor in November after numerous years in my job and traveling all around the UK and many hours of work and all different stuff that's going on and all the things that come along with family. I decided that it was time for a change. It was time to be able to do something for myself, to be able to do something a bit more local, but that really wasn't the main issue. The main issue was we're struggling at the moment in our, just as all around the UK, here in Stoke, we're struggling with actually finding driving instructors for autistic people. My son is, the backstory is my son is autistic. He was diagnosed autistic when he was very young, and really we're seeing an influx of more autistic people around the area, and I know this is not just an issue here in Stoke, but it's all around the UK, to be able to go and see, to be able to find driving instructors who are qualified to be able to take autistic people out. And yeah, I thought that was a area which I think that I could put my hand to and be able to do that and be able to just give back to the community and give back to the autistic community, really. So I started my journey, as I say, in November, and I applied for my DBS check. So if you didn't know, to become a driving instructor, you need to have a full DBS check. That took about 6 weeks to come through. Once that was done, I had to apply for a driving number. So let me just go back a bit. DBS wise, you're gonna need to have your documentation, get it checked over by the post office, anything like that. You know what I mean? So your driving license, your passport, anything like that will do. So those are the things that were required to do that. And as I say, it took about 6 weeks for that to come back. And then you wait for a driving number, for your driving number to be able to book your tests, to be able to do your part one and go forward from there. So I got mine through just before Christmas. So I went onto the test website, onto the DVLA website, and was lucky enough to find that there was plenty of tests on the 8th of January. So 8th of January is after all the Christmas craziness. It seems like nobody wanted to take their test on that day. I don't know if it was due to hangovers or what it was due to, but it just seemed like that day. So I took the 8 o'clock test that day, went in and scored well, managed to pass that test, which was great. So if you don't know what the part one is, so the part one is 100 multiple choice questions, not just on the normal driving stuff, but also on the stuff to do with us learning. So learning how to become driving instructor. So anything out of the handbook, the driving instructor handbook, anything like that. So that was part one. So managed to go in and do that. That was not an issue. I then applied for my part 2 test. As you currently know, it's an absolute challenge to get a part 2 test. So a part 2 test is a advanced driving test. So yes, what is the difference between the part 2 test and the normal driving test? Well, in the normal driving test, you have 15 minors, which you can get. Of course, no serious or dangerous. That would be an automatic fail in the normal driving test. But for us as ADIs, ADI part 2, we could get 6 minors maximum. So 6 minors or less would guarantee a pass for us. Anything serious or dangerous, of course, the same as the normal test, it would be a fail. So I went off and I got some independent driving instructions, because my provider at the time was struggling to provide this for me before my first test. So on the 7th of February, I took my first attempt at the part 2 here in Stoke-on-Trent, going out to the Cobridge Test Centre. So I took my part 2 test. Everything seemed to go well. Everything seemed really good. The drive was smooth. Everything was fine. Got back to the test centre and I actually failed. I failed with 4 minors and a serious. So I was a bit gutted because the serious was unmarked crossroads. If you don't know what unmarked crossroads are, the crossroads that aren't marked. Self-explanatory, really. So I failed. I was a bit gutted, of course. I was gutted that I'd failed my part 2. Wanted to do things first time. Everybody wants to pass everything first time. So I didn't let it beat me up for too long. I got back on the horse. I managed to actually secure another driving test, part 2 driving test date. So I went to my provider and things didn't work out. I wasn't able to complete my part 2 training with those. So I took some independent advice. And yesterday I went off to Ashfield and I took my part 2 test again for the second time, and I'm glad to say that I passed yesterday with 2 minors. So my 2 minors were pulling off safely and awareness and planning. So if you don't know what those are, so pulling off safely, 1 car came down the road, nothing behind, I indicated, and I didn't need to indicate. So that was my first driver fault. My second driver fault was awareness and planning. So we were on the motorway, 70 mile an hour, 50 mile an hour sign came up, and I slowed down just before the 50 mile an hour sign. So yeah, those were my 2 minors yesterday. But I am over the moon. I'm absolutely chuffed. I want to give a massive, massive shout out to Emily from the AA. She's been absolutely fantastic, independent, helping me to learn what my mistakes were, anything like that. Also, my biggest shout out right now is to Roland. So Roland, it's Get Wheel Driving. He was the one who took me out first. You'll find a link to the video up here. So if you go up here, you'll be able to find a link to that video. And I will, and that will show you exactly where I came from being completely untrained, completely novice, to where I am now. I'm sat here, part 2 trained, ready and waiting for my part 3. So part 3 is your instructional test. So I will be going on to a pink license, which is a trainee license. So I'll recommend it to anybody who wants to become a driving instructor to go on to pink, to apply for your pink license. I think it's the way to go. I think that's the most common way things are going right now. You don't have to go on to pink. If you want to do voluntary lessons, then that is not an issue. You can go out voluntary and give, give free lessons, and you can build up your experience that way. But as I say, my recommendation would be to either go and get an independent driving instructor. So go out there and get an audit registered instructor and go and get your training done. So we need at least 30 hours of training. So I'm going to go and do it with, my training is going to be with the AA. So I'm going to start with the AA next week, and I'm going to go and do my 30 hours with them. So yeah, it's going to be a journey, and I hope that you will come along on that journey with me. That would be absolutely amazing. So I want you to keep an eye on the channel. We're going to be keeping regular updates from now on. And yeah, thank you very much for coming along to my to this first video, and I hope to see you soon. So if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. Please give me some love. You know what I mean? We're going to grow the channel together. We're going to become a community. Going to be doing some collab work in the future. with different driving instructors, and yeah, and I hope to see you all soon. I hope Duck out.